Hey guys, Lady Death here. I am joined by Conman and I am joined by Green. I heard that.
Sorry.
Um, Today's stream isn't going to be a fun one by the title. I will fully start this in a second. I'm just posting out everywhere because, as you can tell, the title isn't exactly fun. But I'm going to let everybody come in before I get fully into this. No, don't zoom in. Apparently, I can't tweet to post to Twitter anymore. I got a lot of hashtags to put in.
Would you like me to put a small summary of what's going on?
Yes, please, whilst I'm doing this.
Okay, so, currently in the United States, there are multiple states passing bills that are targeting LGBTQ and trans people specifically. These bills are targeting healthcare, freedom of speech, education, civil rights, all those things. And currently there are about 450 anti-trans bills in circulation that are trying to get passed. Some of them are already far along in that. And yeah, a lot of people, trans people as well as allies, are protesting and fighting these bills so that they do not get passed. And so that's what's currently happening in America. Let me know if I missed anything.
I think you pretty much covered it. I'm posting on my personal currently. Okay. As everybody knows, I don't really talk about politics or what's going on with governments on my channel all that often. When I get asked, it's usually something small that I say, nothing major, and I tend to steer away from the topic. I also don't talk about my personal life all that much. Like everybody knows, I'm got a few mental issues, and I've got depression and stuff like that, and it's the reason why I started this channel. But today we're going to be getting into a lot of what it's like to be trans with having mental health issues and what's going on in the world as Green has just listed out. Um, she has been awesome and did a bunch of research and got a few quotes some of the laws that we're going to be talking about. Con actually doesn't know everything that's going on. He's got a little bit of information that I gave him the other day. It's why he's here. So I'm curious to see how he feels hearing what the states are doing to the transgender community and the young trans kids in the states. So this is going to be interesting. I will put this out there now. We trigger warning. There will be plenty of talk of suicide, self-harming, mental health, and things that some people will find hard to listen to when it comes to that side of things. And I will completely understand if you have to leave the stream. And on that note, I guess we can begin. I'm going to go. Also, I'm playing Destiny just to keep my hands busy and keep Con happy. But what's the first thing on the list that we've got?
Um, well, I guess I'll start with the main thing that's the like making front pages, not really front pages, but it's information being passed through social media and not so much the news outlets. And so we can talk about um, some of these bills that are being passed or attempted to being passed. The main states that have begun this is, let me see here, Texas, Mississippi, Missouri, Oklahoma, Tennessee. So these are the main states that are pushing these bills. Texas having the highest bill rates with 52 at the moment. And some of these, for example, are gender affirming care would be uh, considered child abuse. So, gender affirming care being that kids can get their hormones so that they can begin their transition, and the earlier you begin transition, the smoother it is for you when you get older and you're able to halt the puberty of, um, for example, the male puberty or the female puberty, you're able to halt that and use hormones to continue with the other hormonal puberty. And so that would be considered child abuse in Texas, or, for example, in Kentucky, this bill specifically, HB 470, that would be restricting gender affirming care, so it would be completely not allowed. Um, and places like Montana, SB 458, and for those who don't know, HB means House Bill, SB means Senate Bill, and so SB 458 would make a very narrow definition of what it means to be a man or a woman. The words they have used is a man produces sperm and the woman produces eggs, and so that is the guidelines you would have to follow for official documents, legal documents. And on to note on that, what about, people going through menopause? What about people that are just infertile? Stuff like that also falls in this umbrella, and it's not just affecting the trans community at this point. It's just a very, you know, what's the word, narrow perspective on what gender is, and that's just a few of the many. Sorry if that was an overload of information. I can suggest.
I've been fucking muted this entire time.
Okay.
For fuck's sake, I got into a roll as well.
Well, you can now you have everything in your mind fresh. So
Nope, it's gone. Okay. Trigger warning. That bill has been passed. It is now official. Trans kids will no longer get any health care when it comes to transitioning. And the kids that have started or somewhat finished their transition, will be forced to detransition. And in doing that, they are going to increase the suicide rate to about 73%. I have seen so much footage of people who have gone out and done the research and looked for statistics of what will happen, and the government in the States does not care. They are willing to essentially play a part in killing kids in order to, what I believe, hide what they're actually doing. They think that trying to eradicate the trans community, or the ideology is how they put it, the transology, or whatever they pronounced it as, because apparently we're a threat. And here is why they crack down so hard. One male, one person who identified as a trans male, shot up a school. One. Yet the rest of the shootings in school are done by cis men, and usually they're white too. And they are not getting rid of the guns. They're not trying to take that law out. I'm assuming everybody who's seen like a shit ton of stuff through social media about that. It's pretty much where everything went to shit, even worse and even faster. It pretty much catapulted the hatred towards the trans community because of one person that doesn't represent anyone. But the government doesn't care. They just needed a reason to put all this in, and they have it. These laws are going to damage trans men and women, non-binary as well. It's not just the trans community, and the trans kids, because those kids haven't got a way of coping. Trans men and women, the adults of us, have lived in hiding. So if we're forced back to go into it, we shouldn't have to. Some of us will be able to cope, but others won't, because they don't want to have to go in hiding again. Why can't the government just accept us for who we are? We're not doing anything to them. We're trying to live our lives. You've got a very small minority of people that are pushing back too hard, but at this point, with how much oppression that is going on, it's exactly why they're fighting so hard. I don't support the way they do it, but I understand why. Which brings me to another point. The United States of America in what was it, the 1930s? Between the 1930s and some other time, was fighting Nazi Germany because of oppression and the fact that Germany, one of the first groups of people they rounded up and imprisoned was trans people and anyone who was gay. And it
Just
has.
for
Hmm?
I'm sorry, just for historical reference, this is World War II, 1939 it began.
Okay, thank you. Um, and history is repeating itself. The states are becoming the new Nazi Germany. I will flat out say this, and if it gets my channel banned, fuck it, I honestly don't care anymore. Um, that's what's happening in the states. They are becoming what they fought against. And the thing is, they've been this way for, what, hundreds of years, centuries now? Because they did pretty much the same thing with the black and brown community, only worse. Yet they haven't learned from their mistakes, and they're constantly making the same mistakes. They're not letting people thrive and be who they are and be happy. Because in one of the, I don't know which state this is, but in one of the states, if you're trans and you have an adopted kid or have kids, you can lose your family. You will have those kids taken away. I think that's uh, what is it? South Carolina, Florida, something around there. I can't remember which state it is.
I believe this is Florida.
Yeah. So if literally it's going to become a weapon, say a parent comes out as trans and they're not in Florida. Is it Florida? Florida? Sorry, my brain lagged.
Which one?
It's Florida, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. If, say, outside of Florida, someone is being abusive towards a trans female or male, the opposite person who they have kids with can threaten to take the kids and take them to Florida, and legally they can't do shit because they're trans. And which is in itself promoting A, domestic violence, and B, kidnapping.
So here's the exact words. Florida Senate Bill 254. The bill would allow the state to take temporary custody of children who may be receiving gender-affirming care now or in the future. And so, when we say temporary, realistically, it's not going to be temporary. Can be days, months, years. So, it says one thing, but because of most of the time bills like this are very vague in their language, I would have to read up on it more, but that could really mean anything.
Yeah. And it's a wonder why trans men and women and non-binary don't go out much. And they don't be themselves anymore because of what's going on. If you live in the States and you're trans, you have a target on your back. And it's not a target that you're going to be able to get rid of because the government placed it there. I personally have had horrible experiences since I've come out of trans. I've received harassment in the street, in stores. I even had an altercation with someone who tried to pick a fight with me in the middle of Tesco, and the police were called. And this was an ex-fan of the channel as well. Because where I am, there are people that see me from time to time that know me from my channel. But this one person didn't like the fact that I had come out as trans, and they harassed me throughout Tesco and tried to fight me. Didn't end well because the store manager called the police.
And especially with everything happening, the climate that the States is currently in and all this rhetoric against trans people, things have become even more dangerous for the community. And so 1 in 5 hate crimes in the States is anti-LGBT.
Yeah, there's people carrying guns and shit to try to hunt them down now. Which is absolutely fucking horrific. I've mentioned on my channel a few times that I don't have hope for humanity. This is why. Because we all... It doesn't matter... Oh god. It doesn't matter what skin colour we have. We're all human. Yes, we come from different backgrounds. We have different religions. Different cultures. But that's what makes the world human. We throughout history, trade has been the biggest thing, learning about each other's cultures, but America wants to control everything. And basically just wants to discriminate and be a white power source. And anyone who is different is fair game. As of right now, in the states that have laws going against the trans community, it's fair game. They are targets, and they will be discriminated against, harassed, or worse. Which actually brings me to a TikTok that I watched. Yes, it's TikTok, and this is how I pretty much got onto all of this. I came across a mother who, at the time of the TikTok, lost her trans son 356 days ago. Sorry, dyslexic. She was sat in the car and explained that basically her son was taken from her because of hate. Because the government has forced all of this hatred into people's lives, and it's become a part of them. And they feel it's right. You've got the bigots who believe in all of the shit that the government just feed them. And yet, this mother will never be able to hold her child again because he was killed for a hate crime. And she's not the only one. I've watched TikToks of parents going into the building, like the courtrooms, to plead with the senators and politicians to not go through with the bills. And they're crying and they're fearing for their kid's life. And yet, no one cares. It's horrible to think that humanity can do this to other humans, despite their sexuality or gender. And I have a TikTok, and from now on, anything I see that I can back up, I will be reposting. I'll put my TikTok down in the description below later on today. And I've been reposting everything that I've seen. Here's a little bit of good news. The Pope, this is to do with anyone who is gay or a lesbian. The Pope himself has said it's not a crime to be homosexual. It's a sin for, like, in the religious sense, it's a sin. I don't think it's a sin, I don't care. But even the Pope has said it's not a crime. And that's coming from the Pope. Which kind of says something about the religious cultists around the world that believe that it is a crime to love who you love. And at this point, I am calling them out because it is not right. In the Bible, it is literally said to love everyone and to accept everyone.
If you put it in the Bible sense, it's to love your neighbour.
Yeah.
It's also important to point out that there have been so many different versions of the same text made by so many different people, in many different languages, which does not always smoothly translate. So, to strictly hold yourself to a version of a text, while it's fine to keep some of those morals to like guide you, but to strictly follow words that have changed over years and years, um, is not necessarily the best thing to be doing.
Hey, Red Star. Um, yeah. In all honesty, when it comes to the Bible, there are so many plot holes in there. But when it's stuff like that, apparently God has said, the white man should not be able. White man, sorry, any man or woman who wherever they become a priest. Wait, can women become priests?
No, they become nuns.
Okay. They cannot speak on behalf of God. I think the only one that should be allowed is the Pope. Since he is like the one that stands above everyone.
Yeah, because the Pope's the closest to God. They say he's the purest, so...
Yeah. Fuck, even President Biden, who seems not all there. Yeah, there's many types of Bibles. Biden sounds like he's not all there, or at least he hasn't got his thoughts all there. Agrees that what the states are doing is bad. And I can't remember the actor's name, but he interviewed Biden. And I saw it. And the President of the United States even says this isn't right. He agrees that what they're doing is wrong.
And for the record, he is also Christian.
That too. And the thing is, he told a story about when he was younger going to school that I'm not gonna, this isn't quoting, I can't remember it off the top of my head, I would have to find the TikTok of him being interviewed, but he told a story about him being dropped off by his dad, and he saw two men kissing, and he turned to his dad and he basically said, oh fuck, babe, I think I sent it to you.
He said it's simple, they love each other.
Yeah, that's all you need. Fuck, bring back...
There's no need to complicate things.
Yeah. You love someone, that is enough. You don't need to politicalize it and make it a thing. Just let people love who they want to love.
I feel like it's something that, people lack these days is just minding their business when it comes to these types of things.
Yeah. Red, we're not actually talking about religious side of things. We're just quoting certain people with the mess that's happening in the United States when it comes to the LGBTQ community, specifically the trans community. I think this would be a good break real quick. Con, what are your thoughts?
put me on the spot like
Yeah, you really just. Uh,
Yep.
Let me
that.
reword it then. Khan, as someone who is not necessarily directly related to the issue, as someone who is a cis male, and this won't affect you. It won't affect your life specifically, and you're also not in the States, so this is another way it won't affect you directly. Um, how do you feel looking in on this issue? How do you feel um, this situation should be handled, could be handled? What do you think of this situation?
Well, I think it could be handled a lot better than it has done because some of the stuff that people do these days with saying they're female, male, whatever they are, could be either straight and that. Some of them are taking it too far. So there's nothing wrong with trans people, nothing wrong with lesbians, gays. Doesn't matter. I have hundreds of friends that are the same. So I know a trans person in England.
Hello.
Sorry. Apart from you, I see her around quite a bit. So many times people did sexual things to her because they thought it was right. She's tried to kill herself for it. Well, it's not fair because she's been through a
Yeah,
lot. Understandable. But other things they shouldn't do that with the kids and that. They should just let them be happy with who or what they are. There's
right.
no
Because
point
kids
trying
go
to.
through.
Yeah, the kids have done nothing wrong for all this to happen.
Yep.
And if they. I've seen on TikTok as well, this little was. At the time I saw this, there was a boy who loved to dress up in girls' clothes. When he was a bit older, his dad, I think this was actually America, looking at the places they lived, paid for the sex change to let him be a her and be happy. And she was absolutely over the moon. So there's nothing wrong with being trans, it's just people these days don't have the respect that's needed to accept it. I know there's certain things, I can't remember if it was in England or America, a man decided to say he was female and go into a women's bathroom and do sexual deeds to them and and he didn't get prison time or anything really because he identified as female. That bit is wrong. They shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Unfortunately, that's a risk that.
I understand it's a risk.
And I
There's
guess
always
that
going to
kind
be
of
a
brings. I'm sorry.
there's always going to be a risk with things, and people should understand that.
Putting guns in the hands of people, that's a fucking risk and all.
Yeah, but the Americans won't take the guns out of people's hands because it's a part of their free will and save household protection. It's
I can understand household protection, not being able to carry a fucking assault rifle in the street.
no, that is not right.
That's where I draw the line. Yes, okay. Between me and Green, I'm a partial gun enthusiast when it comes to certain things. I will say, yes, have a gun, as long as the ammunition and the gun itself are in separate places in a very safe, controlled environment, as in, I don't know, a combination safe. So a kid can't get in it and accidentally either kill one of the parents because they think, oh, this is cool. A lot of
Most people do keep them in combination safes these days. It depends where you are from America, to be honest.
yeah, it's just that's my view. I don't believe in having like fucking, I don't know, an entire fucking arsenal. Yeah, have like, I don't know, a Glock or something in a safe, magazine out and separate from the gun. And if you need it, make sure you know where it is. That's my view on it.
Well, I know you live in England, but sometimes I would think it'd be nice to have one just to have the protection. But I'm also glad that we don't.
No, crime would be way higher. The
Yeah, because
the the thing is, with staying on the gun topic, I can't remember what gun this trans guy used to shoot up the classroom. I think it's an AR-22 or something. But he was able to get that. It's too easy to get a gun in the States. And the fact that they believe, oh, it's because he was trans, they really need to look closer to home. Look at I don't know, the people in the States that are willing to militarize themselves and walk around with firearms in the street, thinking they are protecting the people when they're not. They're just scaring everyone.
This is what I just searched up. This specific shooter from the most recent shooting was able to buy 7 guns, 7 weapons from 5 different stores legally. And this is also considering that this person did suffer from an emotional disorder, which he was. I mean, wait, what was the which she was working on at the time, and so knowing all of this and how easy it is to attain weapons in America is just a combination of bad news. And I feel that this is less of an issue of transgender people being dangerous and more of it is way too easy to get weapons into the wrong hands.
Yeah. I was gonna get to a point now. I've forgotten the point. Okay, I want to quote someone now. This politician, or whoever the fuck this dude is, I don't have the quote on hand, but Green does, said publicly that he wants to, not him in on his own, but as I'm guessing a state, he believes that transgenderism needs to be eradicated.
Would you like me to read the quote?
Hmm?
Would you like me to read out the quote?
Yes, please.
So, the person we're talking about is Michael Knowles. The first thing, he said many things, but the 2 things that I noted specifically were, one of the things, if it's false, then we should not indulge in it. And the other, if it's false, being gender identity, being a false concept, it's not a real thing. And the second thing that the same person said in the same speech, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. And this was said during a conservative conference. So, yeah. Pay attention to the word choice of eradicate, which is not something, it's not used in good context ever.
Yeah, the last time that was used was in Nazi Germany. Then you have Trump, who wants to be re-elected next year.
It ain't happening.
No.
That better not be happening.
He wants to. If he had it his way, he will completely wipe the transgender community off the map. That's what he wants. And the thing, this is something. This is the point I was trying to get to. They say that we're mutilating, like, transgender kids, adults, doesn't matter. Any trans person is mutilating themselves, and they can change on a whim. Fuck no. That is not true. Speaking from my personal experience, I have been publicly out as trans since 2021, the end of 2021. I put in a form to be able to start seeing a damn therapist, which I have to wait 3+ years to be able to see, to be told that I can start hormones. And then I have to stay on hormones for another 2 years before I can have the surgery. So that's 5 years, minimum. It is not a whim to just go, oh yeah, I'm just going to... I feel like being a dude today, or I feel like being a woman. It is not something that's easy to do. It is probably one of the hardest things you are going to have to deal with for the rest of your life, unless you detransition, which some trans people do detransition. Either by their lifestyle because of people abusing them, or they just realise that it's not for them, and they aren't trans male or female. So they go back to who they were at birth. And it's not an easy road. It's not something you can just be like, okay, I want to be a chick today. The only people that actually get to do that is gender fluid people. The people that don't fit in either spectrum but also fit in both spectrums at the same time. Okay, I'll give you a bit of a overview. Gender fluid is where you're both male and female. It depends on the day. Whereas non-binary don't feel they're either. Gender fluid, you feel like you can be one or the other depending on the way you wake up. That's the only people that can technically change who they are. Obviously, they have to stick with something throughout their life, and it's harder. I think it's actually harder for gender fluid people, but because they can't get the same care as trans people. But it's still. My point is this: we're not mutilating ourselves. There are therapists, psychiatrists, doctors, surgeons involved to make sure we want this. It's not done over a period of a week. It takes years. Like, it's stupid that it takes so fucking long. I can understand, like, a couple of years for the whole thing. But there are people out there that have been waiting to become who they are for 10+ years. And I've only been waiting, what, a little over a year now? And I'm excited to finally start hormones eventually. Be able to one day go for surgery. Because I'll finally be able to be who I am supposed to be. Like, the hardest part about being trans isn't the hormones, isn't the surgery or anything like that. That's not the hardest part. It's acceptance. And the fact that the government want to eradicate us, it pretty much shows that they don't have support. Yes, they have family and friends, but sometimes they don't. Like, my own father turned around and said he won't accept me as a trans female until I've had the surgery. My mum knew from the get-go that I was trans and tried to lead me on the right path, but me being me, I didn't. I refused. I didn't want to be part of the stigma of I'm trans, and I didn't want to be bullied more than I already was. I didn't want to give another uh, another person a reason to abuse me. But the thing is, I met Con on Fallout 76, say, what? When did 76 come out? 3 years ago?
No, I think longer. My son's almost 4-ish. So I'd say about 4.5 years ago.
Okay, so... Yeah, we've... Oh, he's fucked. So we met when I was still identifying as male. And then we kind of parted ways for some reason, and a few years later we ended up getting in contact with each other again, and I told Con that I was trans, and he took it like a champ. He didn't care. And I think he's only ever fucked up my pronouns twice.
Very much.
And he's like, he's supportive. Those are the people you want in your life. But that's the problem. Not every trans man or woman has that. Like, I've lost people. I've lost relationships because of it. I've lost family because of it. I don't care, personally, because they're missing out. I'm fucking awesome. But there are people out there that are not me, and it hurts them. And the fact that the government is trying to wipe them off the map in certain states. I'm not saying all states are like this, because there is one state in particular, Minnesota, who wants to become a safe haven for the trans community, and I think they are trying to pass a bill to make it a safe haven for them. Which, good on them. The states need to be like that. That's how the world should be. You've got Spain, I think it's Spain, who just passed a law that you can self-identify, and all you have to do is go to the registry office and change your gender. You've got, I think it was Finland who did the same thing. So there are countries out there doing the right thing, but the states, for some reason, haven't quite got the memo. Because they're all about control.
Yeah, no. Yeah, the memo has been missed. It's been seen, maybe, and tossed in the trash.
Yeah.
I just think how... I mean, you are a trooper. You're a fighter, so a lot of things don't faze you and you keep pushing. But imagine what a difference it would have done for you, it would have done for other kids while they were young to have that gender affirming care, to have support.
Without the worry of being bullied just because of it.
Yeah, I mean, the difference that would make if we actually did what was right and support each other instead of trying to isolate and stop someone from being them. The world would be so much better.
So yeah, there's no harm in just letting people be people. It's not like it actually hurts you.
The thing is, it's not just the trans community the states have gone after. It's women, it's the black community, it's pretty much everyone who is not rich and powerful. Like, the trans community at this moment in time are getting it worse. Because they're the target.
If you're not white, you're pretty much screwed. Every other race is just like, they don't care.
Yeah. Like, as much as people want to not acknowledge this, if you're born white, the moment you are born and you're white, you automatically have white privilege. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. You automatically have that privilege. And that comes with perks, but what some good people don't realize is you can use that to your advantage. I have seen so much footage of white people protecting the black community by shielding them from the police so they can't get arrested, because the police won't beat through a white person.
And I feel like allyship like that would be really, a very powerful thing, especially in what's going on right now. Because it's one thing for trans people to stand up for themselves. That's great. It's amazing, and we should push that. But to have allies that don't necessarily identify with the community to also stand with you, I feel like speaks volumes as a society, and I feel like that would really send a message.
And it would. It's something the world needs. The world needs to be, when the old farts from the government finally kick the bucket, because I ain't gonna be feel sorry for any of them that go, and then the new generation come in, because, oh yes, I remember, Han Solo, Harrison Ford, the awesomeness, who unfortunately died in Star Wars, actually stood up in front of a bunch of politicians and flat out said, we need to get out of their way. We have failed the next generation. He said that.
And stuff like that is powerful.
Yeah. We need more people in the older generation like that, who literally will stand up and say, get out of their way. Because, in all honesty, they need to get the fuck out of our way. Because we are not going to stand down. We're not going to give up. It will be hard. But we won't give in. It's not in our nature to give up.
Yeah. Very good point.
Yeah. If we was to give up, we would never be trans.
Yeah.
The hardest battle that a trans person can have is the war within themselves. That is the hardest battle that they can experience. So going up against the government and pushing back and fighting back is hard and grueling. But they've been through something worse. And we have been through something worse. We have tried repeatedly suppressing who we are for years. And we're done hiding. And nothing's going to stand in our way. I personally don't like the fact that I have to wait so long to be able to get my first appointment to start my medical transition. But at this point in time, I don't care because of what's going on with the States. Someone in the comments is not exactly liking me talking.
I think they deleted that comment.
Mm-hmm. I've gotten so much hate from people. I've seen it. And I've experienced it. And it's like one of those things that you do eventually get thicker skin if you're strong enough. If you're able to stand up tall and be like, I don't care what you think, you develop thick skin and quickly. Unfortunately, at the moment, because they're targeting kids, they haven't developed that. Some of them understand what's going on, but not to the extent that the adults do. I saw a father make a speech about his 6-year-old daughter that apparently in school she turned around and went, I'm a she. And this is a Christian school, and all of the teachers there referred to her as she from then on. And they told her father. And as soon as that kid came around that corner, according to her dad, he turned around and went, there's my beautiful daughter. And apparently her face lit up. That's what you're going to be that's what the states are going to be taking away from kids, being able to be themselves and be accepted by their parents. Because it's not just that. If you want to use a different name in school, there's a few states that are doing this. Um, if you want to change your name, use different pronouns at school, they will be outed to the parents and possibly the police. Just because they want to be themselves.
You can't. This age group, this age of kids, is that time where kids explore and learn about themselves. That's when they start figuring themselves out. And so to limit them and say, hey, be yourself, but you can't do this. You can't be like this. Like that's just that. I feel like that's literally stopping someone's personal growth. If that's who you are, you can't just stop that when you're young. Because that can mess someone's development up, honestly. Because there's so many. How many studies are there out in the world talking about how kids need to learn, kids discover themselves, kids need to explore this and that? How are they able to do that if there are laws that put them in danger, laws that say you can't do this? Like, and what about the parents? Parents are gonna have to. If these things actually get passed, parents are going to have to explain to their transgender child that, hey, this isn't safe for you, so you need to pretend to be something you're not. Like, this is it's not just going to affect the trans community, it's going to affect everyone around them as well.
I'm going to talk about an experience, and if my mum ever sees this and my stepdad ever sees this, thank you. I went over for Christmas a couple of years ago to visit my mum. And it was also the time I came out publicly as trans. The first time I went out as pretty much female. Admittedly, it was dark and no one was around, but I still left the house. I met with my stepdad because he didn't want to, because he knows what the world's like. He didn't want me to get attacked or anything like that, just in case if there was people wanting to do hate shit. He came and met with me and took me to my mum's. And we walked back. Had a great Christmas day. It was fun, started talking about all of the things I have planned. After that, this is the key part of this little story I'm going to tell. On the way home, because he walked me back, he said, "Are you sure you're trans?" And I went, at this moment in time, I'm 99% sure. There's that 1% sure because it's still new to me. And he went, "That's okay. If you want to go back to being a guy, that is okay too. As long as you're happy, that is the main thing." That's the type of shit you need to say. Because at that time, I was 99% sure I knew who I was. There was a piece of me that wasn't, mainly because of how long I had been hiding. But the fact that he told me that it's okay if I want to go back at any point. That's the type of shit you want to teach your kids. Because I won't step foot in the States. I wanted to go visit Green. I wanted to go to the States and explore. I don't want to step foot in the States now because I will have a target on my back going there. As people know from early on in my YouTube career, I guess, I had the hopes of moving to the States. But I don't want to move to the States after everything that's happening. And by the way, the person in the comments, my family, other than my father, are very accepting. My nan accepts me, my Auntie Janice accepts me, my mum accepts me. She knew way before I did. And my stepdad accepts me. They all love me the same. There's just a few people in my family that are not exactly supportive. But I'm lucky. I have those people. Some people don't have it. Some people don't have those families to be able to. Yeah, that's what I'm replying to. Okay, just make sure I'm unmuted. I am lucky to have people in my life that accept me for me. There are trans men and women and kids that get pushed down and won't ever be accepted because in the parents' eyes and the family's eyes it's against God or it's wrong or it's just not the way the world works and a bunch of other stuff. I'm happy with myself. I can say confidently with 100% certainty I'm trans. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Someone tries to put me in a box, I'll put them in a box because I'm not going back in. I am happy with who I am. I'm not comfortable going outside fully the way I want to be yet, but that's my own personal issues. That's not because of people, that's me. And I am perfectly happy with that. The fact that I am trans and I have people in my life. I met Green as who I am now, and she's never questioned it, had a go at me for it. She's been accepting. She's probably one of the most accepting people I've probably ever met. And I'm thankful for her.
I'm here to confirm for you that there are more people like me out there, and we are allies, and we support you, and we will boost your voice as much as we can.
Just gotta find them. That's all you gotta do. I'm gonna die. Fuck. Huh?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that the world needs a major, not the world, the states need a major wake-up call.
There've been so many wake-up calls, honestly. So many back at once, one after another. I mean, suicide rates are up, that's a wake-up call, no one listens to that. Gun violence is up, that's a wake-up call, no one listens to that. Kids are protesting at their schools against gun violence, against these things, no one's listened to that. I mean, unless this wake-up call is something that will affect those higher ups directly and personally, they're not gonna care. I'm sorry to be the downer in that.
No, it's fine.
It was kind of leading into my next thought about, to get the brain juices flowing, some ideas going. What are some ways that you think, things could improve, what we should do, what we should see from the government, and how to improve the situation? Of course, we're not miracle workers. We can't figure it out at once. But what are some ideas?
Personally, from me, I got two simple ones. Leave us the fuck alone. And get rid of the damn fucking bills. And replace them with actually supportive bills. Simple as that.
Yep.
Don't have to accept us, don't have to like us, just leave us alone.
It's as simple as that, yep.
We're just trying to live. Like, right now, I sound like a dude. That's because I haven't had the surgery on my throat, and I probably won't be getting that for a while. I'm slowly changing the tone of my voice to go higher. But that's all I can do at this precise moment. But I'm still trans, nonetheless. I've legally changed my name and my gender on my name. So I am now referred to as Miss. New name. And I am perfectly happy with the way I am. I will tell you a really sweet euphoria moment I had. I think I mentioned this in a previous video, I'm not entirely sure. Might have not got uploaded. But I was heading to a takeout place. And once I got in there, I ordered. And then the cashier behind the desk was like, "Oh, I love your nails. Are those real?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "How did you get them to look so good?" And I was like, one of the perks of being trans." And she was like, "Oh, that's great." And I was like, "I know." And the euphoria I got from that shit was awesome. And I died.
Little moments like that. And yeah, I don't know if you saw the comment yet, but there's a comment that says there's a shift in social acceptance occurring. My father's friend transitioned 20 years ago. And I feel like that is true. Like, for a big part of society, a lot of us are changing how we think. A lot of us are like the cashier at the takeout place you went to. A lot of us are learning, and a lot of us are able to express and feel empathy and understand other people. It's just that small group of people that are unable to, that are calling all the shots, which is the problem.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, like, people are fully capable of accepting trans people. It's not hard. It's very simple. Because in the end, trans men and women are still people. They're still your neighbors. They're still your friends. Same people, different identities. You know, it's not difficult. It's just, I feel like the people that are making these very anti-trans bills struggle to to just not conform. That's not the word I'm looking for.
They want us to fit in their world instead
Right,
of
because they're having a
accepting the
hard time
fact that.
accepting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you read out the comment that Red Star and Ginger have said, please? Because I can't currently.
Yes. So, Ginger Hammer says, I believe trans acceptance, whilst not fully apparent, is on the rise. And then we have a comment by Red Star saying that's probably due to a sudden but noticeable decline in religion. There's a sociological, see, English
Sociological.
sociological word for that, but I forget it easily. Secularization. That's the word. And you know what? That is a good point. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the big religions that used to be majority is starting to be questioned. People are beginning to believe in their own things, believe in all kinds of things that aren't no longer this norm of I'm gonna just call out the big ones, Christianity, Islam, Judaism. Those are the top three, I believe. And so because those three are no longer popular, and because a lot of that religion is being questioned these days, a lot of historical things are coming out about them. For example, in Canada with the what was it called? It wasn't called reform schools, but it's the schools where they send indigenous kids, and it turns out that they were being murdered. It's stuff like that where religion is being questioned and people are taking notice. And I feel like those people that are still very strongly tied to religion, because we here in the States, the people that are pushing for these very anti-trans bills are heavily religious and are heavily Christian specifically. Um, they are the ones pushing these bills, while meanwhile the people they're affecting may not be as heavily religious, or the word that was used, secular. And I just rambled there, I'm sorry.
That's alright.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Any input, Con?
Not that I can think of. was listening though. I'm reading.
I I'm ashamed of, like, if aliens are real and they come to our planet and they're seeing what we're doing, I feel sorry for them because they're going to turn their asses around and leave.
Yeah, they might have already come and said, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame them.
It's horrible to think that humanity is capable of this. We've already been down this road once, and I know I've said it before. And America fought against that type of oppression, but they're becoming it. And everybody hates Biden because Biden actually wants to help. And from what I can tell, he actually wants to help and set things right and put America on a better path. And then there's people like Orange Face that wants to fuck it all up, even worse than it already is.
I think, I feel like the United States has this unique issue of being founded on hate. And that founding, the original thing, from the start, it was already bad. And it grew into something worse. And so I feel like there needs to be just a fresh start for everyone in the States to just restart, take a breath, and, build things up from the ground.
I agree. I'm not happy with the way things are in the States. Like I told Green that I'm not stepping foot in the States until this shit is cleaned up and it's been reversed.
And I don't blame you.
I'm worried about, like, the reason for this stream is I'm worried about the kids. Like, the adults can probably find ways to cope, but the kids can't because they haven't been around long enough and they haven't got the skills required to be able to deal with this much bigotry.
And they're too young to understand why this is happening to them. What did they do wrong?
Which, in turn, they haven't done anything wrong. They're just trying to exist.
Yeah. It's a very innocent thing. It's not something that is with bad intentions or, you know, evil plans of doing bad things. It's a very innocent and harmless feeling of, hey, I don't feel like this. I want to be like this because that's who I really am. It's an innocent thought. It's an innocent notion. It's nothing wrong with that. It's natural. But I do feel amongst all of this chaos and badness, I feel like good is coming forward because we're able to see the people that support. We're able to, with the naked eye, we don't have to, figure out, oh, what is this person's intentions. We get to see that out loud. People aren't hiding their intentions anymore.
Oh, fuck no.
And yeah, and we're seeing other countries, setting a good example of what should be done. Being inviting, being, welcoming to the trans community. And I feel like those are the moments of light that we need to hold on to because all of this negativity and darkness that is happening and we need to address and we need to fight against it, that darkness can swallow you up if we don't hold on to the light.
Britain isn't great when it comes to the trans community. They're still a bunch of dickheads, but it has been put forward again, and hopefully it actually gets fucking abolished this time, that the government is going to look into getting rid of conversion therapy. And if that happens, fucking awesome, because I've already flat out told my other therapist, and Green, that if they ever try to suggest that to me, I will give them a two-word answer: fuck off. Because I've read what is in conversion therapy, and the word abuse tends to stand out. Physical abuse as well. I didn't know that was the type of thing. I thought it was just therapy to try to get you to fucking stop being who you are. But it's not. There's actual physical abuse in there too. And Britain is slowly, snail pace, moving forward. It's not as fast as I would like, but it is progress nonetheless.
We're English, we like to take things slow.
Yeah, around a fucking
Unfortunately.
It's better than here, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. The only advice I can give right now for the people in the States that are trying to eradicate the transgender community, fucking run. Get out. Move to a state that will protect you, that has your rights. Just leave, if you can. Take your kids, move away. Huh?
That's the trap with America, though. The cost of living has become so high that leaving is, virtually impossible for a lot of people because it's so expensive.
Yeah, but that's everywhere.
States is worse though. I've seen the fucking debts that they land on people.
Yeah.
Like Green's debts, like 30k or more.
Yeah, they have to pay for their doctors.
The
They
college.
don't have free healthcare, they have to pay for college.
Yeah. Everybody has to pay for college. It's not just doctors. It's everyone.
No, that's what I mean. They've got the healthcare that's not free, they've got to pay for college.
That's the line I pretty much live by. I know my worth. I know what I bring to the table. I expect the people in my life to be able to meet me halfway. But yeah, I'm just... I may not seem it, but I am extremely pissed at the fact that America is supposed to be the land of the free, the land of dreams. Yeah, have dreams, have freedom, but guess what? You're not getting this, this, this. You can't do this, this, and this. So you get freedom at a price.
Which in turn isn't freedom.
No. They're trying to take freedom of speech out as well. At least that's how it seems. You have 2 minutes to make your case. That's not enough fucking time.
Yeah, but when they do that, they can still say they have freedom of speech, even though they don't.
That's the loophole. Fuck, there
So
was
they
this...
can't really take it out.
Yeah. I watched the TikTok of this trans woman talking in not Congress, in one of the states, and she was not happy. She was pissed, and understandably so.
They asked if she had a genitalia.
Oh, not this one. This was different. That's fucking wrong and all. You shouldn't ask someone what's in between
Yeah,
their
I
fucking
saw
legs.
that, and she
Yeah,
was
I've
a
seen that too.
healthcare professional.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this trans woman was given her statement. She ran she got very loud and proud. And this is the part I fucking love. There was security coming over to her, and this small black person running to be a shield to protect this trans woman, to let her finish her speech.
That's
And
called an ally.
yeah, and the fact that when it comes to the black community, a lot of the time, if they're perceived as a threat or doing something wrong or blocking or anything like that, they will most likely get hurt. This person was willing to get hurt to protect this trans woman. That is support. That is strength. That is knowing and standing up for what is right.
Yep.
You've
That's the
got,
type of stuff we need to see more of.
yeah, and then you've got this senator in one of the other states who's running. Who's running for senator? I think as politician. This woman is fighting incredibly hard for trans rights, and she isn't very happy about what's going on. She's also not very liked from the from other politicians by the sounds of it. But she's not giving up. She's encouraging people to talk, to shout, to be themselves. There are people fighting back, but I fear because the good people of the government, are a minority, they're not going to be heard and they're not going to be able to get through. That's my worry. And if that's the case, it kind of means that change is not going to come anytime soon. But that doesn't mean we have to stop fighting. We constantly fight. We could topple nations if we fucking banded together. And I don't mean that in a radical way or anything like that. I mean use your words, protest, stand up for what is right. If you're not, even if you're not trans and you're a supporter of trans rights or any rights for that matter that have been taken away, because women's rights have just been slashed again.
Oh yeah.
If you believe that the government is not working, join the protests. Walk with pride. Do it peacefully, and don't get into any shit. And show your support. Sign petitions to get laws overturned. Because the thing is, they're making these laws and they're not even talking to the people that it affects. Like, what was the other law recently? The Jim Crow stuff they just fucking announced.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to give us clarification on what that is, babe?
Sure. I don't have the details in front of me, but this is basically, I'm not sure which state specifically. There are these laws being passed to basically, how do I explain this in the best way possible? Because it's a tricky one. It's basically a law that says the government gets to choose who your representative is in your area. And how things work in the states is you live in a certain area, you live in a certain county, so you get to vote for who represents your county. And so now this law is being passed that the people don't get to vote and choose who's representing them. Instead, a government official outside of that county chooses for you. And people have called out how the communities being affected are majority black communities, and this is a very racially coded law that would basically bring us back to Jim Crow era, where you just don't have the right to vote. And this is just it's just one of the many things wrong in the states.
And then you've got that law and the law they abolished almost 10 years ago. They brought in the bathroom law, which we've talked a little
Oh
bit
yeah.
about earlier. They're bringing that one back, and that one's I think is in Kentucky mainly. Um, yeah, they're bringing that law back where the assigned your assigned sex at birth, you have to use that bathroom, which is not gonna end well because trans woman who's had surgery or hasn't had surgery or just in the beginning goes into a men's bathroom. What is the one thing that's most likely going to happen since trans women aren't accepted in a lot of places in the cis men world? Hate crime and other things.
Bad things.
Yeah, it's not going to end well. They're literally putting a sentence out statewide that here is a trans woman who is now using a men's bathroom. Do what you want.
You know, that one has me thinking.
Mm-hmm.
The reasoning that people are giving it, which is complete crap. The reasoning that's being put behind this is, oh, we fear for the safety of women, allowing transgender women in the restroom. But the thing is, transgender women, that's not the issue. What they're actually afraid of, it sounds like, is straight men pretending. They're afraid of straight men getting into the women's restroom, not transgender women, because they're women.
Yeah, but that's happened. That's the thing.
Yeah. So like it's very much it's covering for what they're truly afraid of.
And using transgender men and women as a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Well, yes, there are isolated incidents that can happen, and that goes for anything in the world, for any type of issue. Yes, there will always be that isolated incident. But to use that as reasoning to make an entire community's life harder, that seems like it's covering for something.
I'm not really worried about the trans men having to use the women's restrooms all that much because women are typically nicer. It's the trans women I'm worried about because when trans women have surgery, they are pretty much almost biologically the same as any other woman. They have almost all of the parts that makes a woman, minus one key thing. What's going to happen to those trans women if they're forced to use their assigned sex bathrooms and the guys that come in are complete fucking assholes and take advantage of that? Those crimes, those particular crimes, are going to go up. Not just getting the shit kicked out of you, I mean sexual harassment and potentially rape. Because just because you don't have a womb or anything like that doesn't mean you're not a woman. And that's a type of abuse that can break a person. And they won't have a safe place to go. Me, personally, I never use public restrooms. And I never will. Because I think all restrooms are gross. So, I always use mine. I don't go publicly. So, for me, I'm safe. But there are people out there that aren't. And it's worrying because that's something that is very likely to happen. And the government don't care. Like, I have a friend who lives in the UK that is trans and gets abused constantly. And it's got to a point where she can barely function day to day. Being trans in 2023 is not easy. Another thing is something that Trump said. Transgender was invented by the left. Fuck off. being trans has been around for centuries. Fuck, millennia, I do believe. Non-binary specifically have been around longer than trans, I think. So what the fuck is that orange-faced Phyllis thinking? And anyone who knows me knows I quote Lee Evans. And if you're British, you will understand. Put a little joke in there. But yeah. This is also the same guy that said to swallow bleach to get over COVID. This is the guy that looks like he had a spray tan with an orange carton.
Yeah, I'm sad to say that this is a real person and not a caricature.
Yeah.
You mean the person who looks like an Oompa Loompa?
Yeah, pretty fucking much. The fact that anyone supports this idiot is, well, just like him. An idiot.
Well, there are a lot of, I will say this, there are populations of people that are not necessarily the most
stable-minded.
The most educated in matters of what goes on around the country. And so, to people like that, and I'm not saying that's everyone, but I am saying that there are communities of that. I think to communities like that, when someone says scary things like transgender people were invented by the left, etc., etc., to certain people, when you hear that, that's scary, and you're going to trust this man. And that's not everyone, though. I will say that again, because some people know very well what they're doing, and they're just plain crazy.
Yeah, when I'm talking about the states as well, whilst we're on the topic of not everyone, I'm not saying the entire United States are a bunch of bigots and assholes. That's not the case. There is quite a few states that disagree with what's going on. Mississippi being one, because they've actually announced they want to be a safe haven for not Mississippi, Minnesota. Minnesota. Fuck you, Mississippi.
Mississippi's a bad one.
Yeah, fuck you, Mississippi. Minnesota. Sorry, they sound similar to me. But I don't know how many states there is doing this. I know it's mainly the South. But it's only a matter of time before it spreads. And that particular way of thinking gets adopted from other places. But it's not all of America. I'm not hating on all of America. Oh, sorry. It's just there's a lot of states that are considered, in my mind, irredeemable. There's no fucking point. Get the hell out. It's the best thing you can do. Like, I know you're probably going to be carrying around debts and shit like that, but it's literally, for a lot of people in your families that are trans, it's a matter of life or death. Because you stay in a state that condones abuse, you're pretty much helping that. Not exactly in a. Okay, how do I put this? You are partially helping that happen because you're not protecting them and getting them out. Like the adult one, the adult trans can easily get themselves out, but it's the kids. Protect your kids at all costs and get the hell out of that state. Yeah, I know what I just said is going to get taken out of context, but I mean it in the most supportive way possible.
Well, if that's the case, I can rephrase what you just said.
Yes, please do.
Basically, standing by and not necessarily doing anything about it is compliance.
That's
You're
what I
letting
meant.
it happen. Yeah, silence I think this is something that protesters have said before. Silence is compliance. Because while you actively aren't necessarily doing anything, it is harmful.
And I've
So
been
yeah,
silent too long.
nobody better take it. Nobody better take it out of context.
Yeah, she explains shit better than me. Oh my god. Um, yeah, I just find it funny how um, there's people out there that think it's so easy to transition. I find that fucking hilarious. It's like
Because
if
they
it,
haven't experienced it.
yeah, no, it's something you have to experience. And something else is they don't actually talk to the people that live as transgender.
Yeah.
They don't actually fucking talk to us. They decide for us. That politicians are deciding the fate of an entire community, but ignoring what the psychiatrists, therapists, and doctors say. It is life. It's literally what the doctors do for the trans community. They are saving lives. They are letting us be who we are supposed to be. And the government feels like, nah, they're just they're just wanting to change and do illegal shit.
I just feel like there's a disconnect between people. I feel like people aren't realizing that being human is complex. Being human is not just simple like, oh, you are male, I am female. It's not that. Humans are way more than that. We're so complex as human beings. We've done all kinds of things. We identify as so many things, and I feel like people struggle to understand that.
Oh,
And it's not black and white.
staying on to this subject, have you got any of that research you did last night about the fact that it's not just about what's between your legs? It's like what
Yeah,
happens with your brain.
yeah.
Give us a read, Professor.
Alright, well, I read the study from the what's this called? National Center of Biotechnology Information. And so I read the study they conducted to measure in the brain if transgender women are actually women, like brain chemistry wise. And so this is a fairly new thing. There's not a lot of studies on it. There's not a lot of work done on this type of subject. And so because it's so new, it's not quite sure why this happens. But it is believed that there are many factors that determine your brain chemistry if you're leaning more towards male or female or anything like that, or in between. And so they conducted the study with 24 cis men, 24 cis women, and 24 trans women. And they figured out a way um, to measure between 0 and 1, 0 being female, 1 being male. And they figured out a way to find out, looking at your brain's chemistry, if your brain is male or female, if you lean to one. And so the what is it called? The constants, which is the male and female subject, the cis subject. It came out pretty solid. It was like 98% accurate. And so when they looked at transgender women's brains, it is shown that their brain chemistry is leaning more towards female. And it is an actual thing. It's not just, a feeling, oh, I want to be a woman today. No, it is an actual thing that happens in your brain. While you're developing in the womb, your brain chemistry can change and lean towards one or the other more. And it's not determined by, what's the word?
Genitalia.
Yeah, it's not determined by the genitalia you're developing. This is something separate that happens. It's a separate thing that's being developed because those two things aren't determined at the same time. And so, yeah, there's more studies, of course, being done. There's other things that are being tested. And because it's such a new thing being talked about, people aren't exactly sure why this happens. But we do know for a fact that this does happen, and not just in humans, but in animals and other species as well. So there you go.
So there is another point. I don't know what my brain would look like. My brain's a fucking mess. Jesus Christ.
No. But this study is available online. That's where I read up about it. Um, so I'm not just making this stuff up. This is actual stuff that's out there in the world for you to find. And it's done by actual professionals, not politicians.
Yeah. Okay. What time is it? We've been going for almost 2 hours. Is there any last things people want to say?
Love is love. That's all it is. And self-love included. And I feel choosing to transition is an act of self-love.
Con?
No, I got nothing.
You're just tired. This was a lot.
Alright. I will leave the stream on what I was going to say. I've been preparing it. If you're trans and you can get out, move to a different state. Do your best to get out. If you are hidden, my best advice, if you're in a state that will not accept and won't help, get out, find somewhere new, and then come out. When it comes to parents that have kids, if you want them to grow up happy and be able to be themselves, again, get out. Because I worry for the next generation of the transgender community, because with the way I see it at the moment, the world is not a very happy place. And at the moment, it doesn't seem like it's going to get any easier. So, best advice I can give, get out and protect your kids and yourself. And always do what you feel is right. It's the advice I give everyone. Always do what you feel is right. And for the people that are all around the world that are trans and have trans kids or hidden, we're one big family and we will always have each other's back. I will be doing awareness streams more often to hopefully give people a place to go, either just to listen or just to hang out and talk about experiences. And I hope that today hasn't been too rough on the community with everything we've been talking about. And just know every single trans man and woman are all beautiful, even if you are hidden. Be yourself, never give up, and constantly push forward. And on that note, because I feel like I'm about to trail, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you comment, like, and nuke that subscribe button. I have been Lady Death. We have had Con and Green with us. Absolutely nothing.
I don't know. Okay, hello.
And I will see you for the next one. Cheerio and goodbye.